Hello, welcome to the presentation on fundraising we're fundraising and find the blessings. I want you to know that there's really we're going to be talking about two different approaches to fundraising. Both of them work extremely well, but there are really two different ways of going about things. One is we'll be working from using the tools in Donor to prepare documents for fundraising. And then Lollie's going to cover using social media on what's on how on how you can fundraise meeting for that. I'm going to be covering the donor as a tool, and as like I just said, Lollie Wilson will be covering the social media. Question is, I guess, first time what's your reaction when you hear this? Somebody talks about, okay, it's time to talk about fundraising. You can have a couple of reactions. I suppose there's more than a couple, but at least a couple. Oh, no, we not again. This is just such a royal pain in the what kind of stuff. So no, I just hate doing this stuff. Or you can have a really kind of another attitude. This is very cool. I've been looking forward to this. This is actually a way to find blessings, is to work in this arena. You know that in the Mark and Luke, there's a story about the woman who dropped in a couple of pennies, and her reputation and her recognition was infinitely more important and long-giving than those guys who dropped in lots of money and made lots of noise doing so, because you remember that. So it's the attitude of giving. And then, of course, you remember the story in the Old Testament, First Kings, when Elijah came to town, and he went to the town of Zarephath and asked this woman to make him some bread. He was hungry. And she had just enough oil and just enough flour to make one biscuit, and that she was planning on making that one biscuit for her son, who she suspected would die right after that because she had nothing else to do. Well, you kind of know she went ahead and made the biscuit for Elijah, and you know how that story ended up. I'm not a Bible scholar, but I did do some research and found out that there's 20 mentions of giving in the Bible. It's interesting. 10 of them are from the Old Testament and 10 of them from the New Testament. So seems to me that if that much attention is paid to giving, then God must think this is a pretty important thing. And I think he offers us opportunity to find blessings in this project of raising money. We're going to talk about donor. I can tell you right now, this is going to be a kind of a 35,000 foot view. There's really four sections we're going to be going through for donor. One is the first is preparation of the mailing list. The next section will be preparing the letter. The third section will be printing everything out, and then the fourth section will be actually mailing things like that. Now, I want to make a real point here is that there's very little work for you to do to create anything. Donor has a lot of stuff already in it, and so what your job mostly would be is correcting or improving the information, or make it specific to your particular weekend, but not so. So really, don't be scared to think that all this stuff you have to create all yourself, because Donor really gives you a lot of tools to help with that. When you go to the main screen, you click on this where the little green is. You click on the tab that says Nurture Donors. That's where you click. Well, where does this data come from? Well, the data comes from outreach presentations that you give, like if you collect interest forms where we give a presentation someplace. It comes from people that have given money before into donor, or people that have made cookies, whatnot. They're they may be recorded if they've done gift in kind of stuff. They may be recorded in donor as well. And then, of course, Ezra, if you've been on a team, whether or not you've given money or not, then your name will be a part of the mailing list. So that's where that's the source of the names that'll go on the mailing list. So once we click on the nurture letters, a screen pops up. The next screen pops up, and it says there's a selection called donor nurture letters. And then once you click on that one, then you come up another screen. We're actually asking you some options. So they're giving you some choices to do. And what you probably want to do is create a letter from a template. You can create a letter from scratch if you want to, but that you don't need to. There's a letter from a template. There's a lot of words already in donor that helps facilitate that creation. The next step is to create a name. Or I'm sorry, we're going to create a letter type. We're going to create a letter. We're going to select a letter type. Excuse me. We're going to collect a letter type. And in this particular case, we're going to create with the letters called Kairos Insight Pre-Weekend. And the reason these choices are there is because donor produces letters for KO, Kairos outside, and also for torch. And so the words are different. Each of the letters that is prepared. So in this particular example, what we're going to do is we're going to follow a KI Kairos inside scenario for preparing the letters. Notice a couple of things. One is if you can see the tutorial buttons, the little yellow buttons kind of in the upper right-hand corner of both of those two screens. I would really encourage you, because those tutorials are really excellent in terms of finding out kind of what's going on and what's being, what these screens are for, and answering questions. They're excellent, excellent. So on many screens in Donor, there's a little tab called, like this, like tutorials, and you can click on that, and there'll be a little presentation that shows you kind of what's going on. So just a little highlight there. Now this is what I was talking about a while ago. What we want to name this particular project, and the name of it's going to be Allred 35 pre-weekend, and it's just the one. And then we're going to say finish. And what it does then, it tells us, it sends us to a screen that says, it's time to build our mailing database. So select and combine the databases. You select that. And what Donor then is go to work in the background and starts collecting information from all the sources that we saw earlier. And it produces a list of, you tell it what it is that you want to include. Like I got in there, the bottom screen shows that inside Donor and Ezra, I'm including those two sources for my particular project. And once I do that, then I click on the screen on the upper right, and it says build the database. It's really the mailing list, but it's the database. And what it does, it churns along and it creates this little list there. I mean, kind of things that shows just like, it shows all the names of all the people that are being included on the in the mailing list. Right. Now, that's really the best thing about this. One of the things is that Donor lets you prepare an Excel spreadsheet using a tab delimited file. Lets you prepare that, which is infinitely easier to work than working through that last screen where we showed just the information was there. Because here on the Excel spreadsheet, you see everything. You see the name, the address, and the whole 9 yards. On the other sheet, you have to click on the name to see the name and the address and all that. So this is so much more easier. So the idea would be to work the corrections and work with the changes that you want to see made on that. Work that on the spreadsheet, and like you can see an example of some of the changes are done in color, so it's easy to recover. Easy to recover. Those when it's time to actually make the change and update the real mailing list. Here's kind of some of the stuff it'll see. Here's just an example of the Excel spreadsheet. Shows the Alliance UMC, and then it's got the salutation for the pastor. There's the address, Fort Worth, and where it came from. It came from Donor. Some of the things you're going to want to do is eliminate individuals versus families. For instance, Joyce Bean is a part of Donor, and she's also a member of Ezra. Wilton Bean is a member of Donor, and probably also a member of Ezra, but also Wilton and Joyce are there together as a family. Now, what you want to do is you're going to want to delete Joyce and delete Wilton and leave it at Wilton and Joyce Bean. Now, what Donor does is if the name and address is exactly the same all the way across, then it's going to just combine those into a single letter or a single mail label. Sometimes there'll be almost identical addresses. Like Jerry Jones here has it's a couple of. One of them is 3508 Old Seymour Road, and one is just has the old left out. So you would want to just delete that record out of there. Otherwise, Donor's going to create two letters, one going to Old Seymour Road and one going to Seymour Road. Also, you can see places like Tommy John's. There's missing the name in the first, so the letter will come out dear, and it'll be a blank. So that's obviously, to make this thing as personal as possible, the idea would be to go ahead and add Tommy to the first name, and that so that there's, so it's a little more personal. I think in churches, it's really important to add the pastor's name. I know the first example I just showed pastor, but I think it's really important to do the research and figure out what the pastor's real name is, because the letter's going to go to him. And I guess they get so much letters, I'm just afraid that, if it doesn't have his name on it, the secretary is going to, take care of the letter instead of giving it to him. So we'd add the the pastor's name in there. And I would also say that if it's a Methodist church, you probably ought to Google, because Methodists, you know how they do, they change pastors sort of often. So David Mosser may have been the pastor at First Methodist Arlington some time ago, but maybe he's not anymore. Okay, so we've got all the corrections done. So what we do, on the spreadsheet. So what we've done is we take our Excel spreadsheet, then we go back to donor and we click on each of the individual names that need correcting. And this is where we do the real correcting. Okay, we have to correct these names. You have to correct the names in donor. It's not, correcting the names on the Excel spreadsheet is really just a tool for you because it's so much simpler to use. It doesn't correct the real the mailing list. Okay, so we've updated and got our mailing list. You remember he said there's four sections. This is getting the mailing list ready. This is what this is. We've got our first section done. So now let's talk about getting the letter prepared. We're gonna create copy an existing letter, and you remember we talked about the Allred 35 pre-weekend. That's the type of letter or type of weekend we want to create, so we create that, and we select that letter. We select that letter type, and what happens is we also select the prepare the letters. We also prepare the I have a hard time reading that. What's that say? Oh, open existing letter. Sorry. I have my vision is not real good like it used to be. So open existing letter. And so we're going to open up the Allred 35 pre-weekend. Remember, we named it this some time ago. What happens is the donor then opens up a screen with several tabs on it. And the tabs have divided the letter into sections: the introductory, the body of the letter, and the close kind of stuff. And so what you do is you click on each of these tabs, and when you do, it brings up the narrative in those tabs, and it allows you then to go through there and fix or correct the information to make it more contemporary and associated, with your specific weekend kind of stuff. In this particular case, it says that Allred is going to be happening in Wichita Falls on October 21st. So if that's not right, then it's easy to just update that and say what when the weekend is really there. So you go through the narrative on that, and there's different words associated with the letter depending on if the donor recognizes that you were a gift in kind, or if you gave money, or if you worked on a team but didn't give any money, and that sort of stuff. So there's different words for each of those situations, but you need to make sure that the contemporary information is corrected. And that's what I was talking about a while ago. You don't have to create anything. You really just have to make sure that it's contemporary. So we're going to move now to the closing paragraph, because that's important, the closing paragraph. Now remember, fundraising is an ad council job, right? It's not the weekend leader's job. It's an ad council job. So the letter should come from the ad council chair. So that's whose name we're going to put in. We're going to put in the closing. We want all the contact information there. We want his phone number and want his email address in case people want to call him and find out, ask more questions about that, which would be a good thing. The address, though, is the post office box of the ad council, right, where people would send their money. That's the place where the treasurer goes and gets checks out of the post office box. So that's the address you use on that. So now what we've done is we've done two things. We've got our mailing list together, and we've got our letter together. We've got it just the way we want it. So now the next step is we're going to print these puppies. All right. So first thing you do is we print the letters. That's kind of like step 2, print those letters. And as you can see, what it does, it creates a PDF file of each individual letter, and they're not individual PDF files. It's a single PDF file, but it creates each individual letter. Now, this is really a pretty good tool too, because you can sort of just scan through those letters and see if there's any obvious errors, the missing Dear Tommy and stuff like that. So if there's anything really wrong with that, this is kind of like one of those final edits you can do. You also can arrange, ask the system to print your labels. That's what step 3 is, and those are the labels that are going to go on the envelopes that we create. And now here's the little thing of same sequence. Now, what is really important is that you keep those in the same sequence, because because the first label on the first page is going to go to the first letter in the stack of letters you printed. Now, the last thing you want to do is be sitting in sitting in a big room and doing some sort of forensics, trying to figure out which label goes with which name. So if you're printing multiple stacks, kind of stuff, you're printing a few at a time, you're printing, just make double sure that those guys are in the same sequence. Now, this is optional, but there is a thing you can do to prepare a brochure. This brochure is kind of like, it's real shiny paper and it's really kind of cool, but it is also contemporary with the weekend you're running, and it's got some information on it. This is we got one that Kairos, Allred uses, which is it's really obvious to share with anybody else if they want to use that. We could share that with them as well. We use a company called Overnight Prints. It's very cost effective for about 1,000 really high quality paper, tri-folded. Now, here's one thing: you want to get them folded. You don't want to have to go through the business of folding them. And also, I order a bunch of extra of these guys because these are really good tools for your team to send to and bring their Sunday school classes or use for any other kind of thing. It really covers a lot of stuff. It kind of covers, in a nutshell, covers many of the aspects of Kairos. And if you can see kind of on the first page there, the bottom left-hand corner, there's a copy of a meal ticket. So it even has that in it. So it is just optional, but it is it's kind of one of those kind of things that kind of enhances, I think, the thing. Okay, so we printed everything, and so what we're ready to do now is let's go through the mailing process. Okay, so we've got a lot of supplies here, right? We've got our letters, we've got our labels, we've got brochures, we got the far right hand side is the return labels. We obviously want to have labels on that. Then we got a bunch of stamps and we got envelopes. You want to take 30 of each and put them in a 2-gallon Ziploc bag. So why 30? Why do you use 30? Well, because the mailing labels that tin up the mailing labels, there's 30 address labels on each sheet. So you want to collect 30 letters, 30 brochures, probably a half of a page of the return, because I think there's 60 on a page there. 30 stamps and 30 envelopes, and stuff all those guys into a Ziploc bag. Okay, so now you're getting everything organized, getting ready now for our envelope stuffing party. Okay, envelope stuffing parties are something that needs to happen during a team meeting. And I found over the years, I found out it's a heck of a lot better to do it right before lunch when people are hungry, because there's a lot of motivation to get it done than waiting until after lunch. And you also don't want to do it after the team meeting because people have to leave and whatnot. So the team meetings, the team meetings is the perfect place to do this. You ought to bring extra stamps and extra envelopes just in case something goes wrong. So you're organized around a table, and everybody has a different job. The guy on the left opens a package. He opens up the 2-gallon Ziploc bags and pulls everything out and separates them and gives them to the people around the table that have their job. The first person is the one who matches the letters and the labels and make sure that those are together. The letter is going to be mailed to the person that shows the two on the letters. The second person folds it all and does a double check, make sure this is really right. So make sure that that we're not mixing labels and envelopes. Third person is a person who takes and puts the brochure and stuffs the letter, folded it all, stuffs the letter in the envelope. And then the fourth person is the person who puts the stamps on the envelope. Now let's do this. Let's don't put the stamp on. The mailing stamp. Put the mailing stamp on the very last step. And why is that? The reason is because several of the people that are on that mailing list are present in the room right now because they're a part of the team. So there's no sense in wasting a stamp. Just might as well hand them the letter, kind of thing. So it's easier to do that. So he puts all the labels on the envelopes and closes the envelopes. And of course, you also pray that the letters are going to touch the hearts of the donor. This is a prayer-based thing. And so you also can pray, that you find find the grace and all in this exercise. This is a picture of kind of what it looks like around a table. You can see there's lots of stuff on the table. You need to assign somebody to pick up the trash because there's a lot of trash created, as you can imagine. The backs of the labels and the paper the labels printed on, and then also the all the stuff that comes off the envelope, the little strip kind of thing, if you use that kind of envelope. And then you need somebody else to collect the completed letters, right? And get those things all finished up. So now you've done, and what have we done? We've got our mailing list. We printed our letters, got our letter ready. We printed them, and now we've stuffed all the envelopes and ready to and mail them out. And are we finished? Not exactly, not exactly. Because what's going to happen is some letters are going to get returned. If the post office tells you what the new forwarding address is, then you should update your donor data mailing list, the database. You should update that, and then you have a choice. It would be to go ahead and write a letter. Hand address a letter to the person, and just go ahead and send a letter to them anyway. If the letter's undeliverable and there's no place, nothing forwarded, you might as well just delete them from your database. Just to delete them, because we're not gonna give them a letter next time, I think. So kind of give you some proof of the pudding sort of thing. Donors, the Allred unit experiences in Texas is that we send out about 1,200 letters for each weekend. It costs a little over $1,000, not too much over $1,000, and that includes everything: postage and brochures and paper and printer ink. And the results vary, but the experience shows that somewhere between $4,000 and $8,000 are returned each weekend. So it's really a great exercise, and it's really a very productive thing. Fundraising at the ad council level is productive, but it takes work. You can see all those people. One reason it's cheap to do this is because there's no labor costs associated with it. But it takes work and a commitment to keep the data and the addresses clean. That is really an important thing to do. I'm going to close here with the notion that I have a college marketing book that I'll never forget this quote, where the marketing guru said that 50% of his marketing dollars were wasted. He just didn't know which 50%. So many of the letters are going to go to somebody, and they're going to get in the trash can, or they're going to get thrown away, or they're not even going to make it to the person you wanted to send it to. And many letters are going to be that, but you just, those that make it are productive in terms of raising funds. So a lot of work and associated, and especially keeping the data clean. Excuse me. All right. This concludes the part of mine. So Lolly, she's going to talk about the social media using virtual fundraising.
So this is Lelania Wilson, Lolly for short, and we're going to talk about online virtual fundraising as well as social media and some of the other online tactics. So virtual fundraising, it's social media, it's Kairos, mykairos.org, it's all the resources online that are available to you. And I grant you, I only have access to what I have access to, and I'm always looking for more information. So let's start with mykairos.org. At mykairos.org, there's a wealth of information, and people are always updating it, and there's always more coming. So please always go back to mykairos.org and find more information there, because some of the information there is just amazing. Some of the creative ways that people have come up with fundraising ideas. I've been very excited to be able to go through and present some of this stuff to you myself. So let's start talking about Click and Pledge. It's a great way that you can ask for online donations without using any of the other social media platforms. So people can make credit card donations through this. And if you set your profile up correctly, it'll go straight to your ad council, which specifically goes towards your weekends. So it makes it a lot easier to funnel the donations straight to you and what your team is doing. And that's important because from the accounting perspective, it makes it easier to know where your money is and where it's coming from. However, we have a lot of avenues for that. So even if it goes to KPMI, you'll still get credit for it. So it's okay. So Click and Pledge is a really great way to get online donations. And you can share your link from that with other people through emails and text messages. So it's a really good way to spread the word. Facebook is another really great way to spread the word. And the really cool thing about Facebook fundraisers is you get to talk to people further away, not just face to face. So you get to talk to people outside of your immediate area. You get to talk to people you went to high school with. And if you're like me and you moved away from home, talking to people in high school about Kairos is a really great opportunity because they're not part of my day to day. So they don't get to see me going to Kairos. You also get to talk to people about having prayer warriors, cookie makers, and also people coming to your closing. So it's a really great avenue for branching out and talking more about Kairos. So the other cool thing about Facebook is all you need is a Facebook account, internet access, and a few friends. So it's not as hard as it sounds. If you go straight to the mykairos.org, there are directions on there for how to set up a Facebook fundraiser. Giving Tuesday. Giving Tuesday is a global event and it's celebrated on the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. So it goes Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Giving Tuesday. Last year on Giving Tuesday, through donations both big and small, 473,000 people helped raise over $45 million to support over 47,000 organizations. That's a lot of numbers to throw at you at one time, but just think about that for a second. You could be a part of that for Kairos. You could make that part of your giving for, or raising money for your weekends. Now, the thing about Giving Tuesday is when you set up a fundraiser on Giving Tuesday, Facebook will match that donation. And so when you're doing your fundraiser, you're actually doubling your fundraiser. And Facebook isn't the only one that does it, but they're the most popular for doing it. And they have other organizations out there that will match your donation and help them raise the funds as well. So Giving Tuesday is a very, very important part of that process. The options here are endless. So let's talk about Giving Tuesday for a second. On mykairos.org, we have a series of documents that are available for you to use specifically for that. So we have the fundraising email template that you can send emails out to your friends, your people you know, people who are most likely to give. We also have the direct mail template. Now that we want to make sure we send out about 2 weeks in advance. Make sure that the correct dates are on there. Make sure that it's prepared properly. And we can send that out. That's the direct mail is with the stamp and everything and the envelope sent through the US Postal Service. And it's really important that we send that out far enough in advance that they get it before Giving Tuesday. In fact, I would recommend probably getting it to them before Black Friday so that they can budget for that. Setting up a Giving Tuesday Facebook fundraiser is also very important, and it has to be done at the right time. And I would practice doing the fundraiser in advance so that that day you know exactly what you're doing and how you're doing it. And then you also have the digital calendar reminder, which is important because Giving Tuesday only comes once. If you forget, you forgot. So you also have Facebook profile pictures and cover images and stuff like that that helps remind people while they're on Facebook that day that you are doing the Facebook fundraiser and that they can help you with that. So these are all really great tools for Giving Tuesday for Facebook. Let's talk about a few don'ts. I don't like to talk about don'ts very often, but there are a few pretty serious don'ts in Kairos for fundraising. We don't ask for donations in exchange for, or we ask for donations in exchange for goods. We don't ask for sales in exchange for goods. So we don't do silent auctions, we don't do raffles, and we don't do sales. These are specifically called out as not acceptable for nonprofits. Now, I am very much aware that different states have different laws and there are different rules, and it may be perfectly acceptable in your state to do a raffle, and it may not be acceptable in my state to do a raffle. Kairos has decided as a whole that this is not what we're going to do. We are going to keep everybody on the same page, and we're going to keep everybody in the riverbanks, and we're going to firmly state that we can and will raise money without breaking any rules, without pushing any boundaries, without making things complicated. So we're just not going to do silent auctions or auctions in general, raffles or sales. We will be able to get donations in plenty of other ways. And with some faith, we can make this happen. So just stay with me here. So, meal tickets. I'm pretty sure you guys have all seen the tickets before. But if you haven't, they're available through Kairos, and they're available specifically for your weekend. So you have Kairos Torch, Kairos Inside, Kairos Outside. All of us have our own meal tickets, so you can order them however they need to be. And these are specifically helpful because the meal ticket lets people on the inside, or the participants of the weekend, I should say, know that there were people outside who are not a part of Kairos who were happy to be able to donate money for their meals and to help them have the productive weekend that they're having. For us, this has been an incredibly impactful part of our ministry. We put them on the tables to show people that there are so many out there that care, but when you stack them up on the tables, people get pretty excited about them. So the other thing about the meal tickets, you should always be able to follow up with people and tell them, hey, this is our weekend that we did and that you donated for, and this is how it went, and this is, what we expected, but this is what we got out of it. And let them know that there's a future and that there will be more weekends coming. You can also reach out to them in the future and ask them for more donations. So it's a very productive way of allowing outsiders to be a part of our process. It's also a great way to be able to minister to those people later on and ask them if they want to join Kairos. Kairos fundraising. There are so many ideas on the website, mykairos.org, for fundraising ideas. We're going to talk about several of them. I know there are so many more out there, and I'm always looking for more information. So please, if you have other great ideas, send them to us. I would love to hear more about it. So let's start with asking your accountability group, your Sunday school team. You can make announcements at your church. Sometimes you can put it in a bulletin or on a bulletin board and pass the hat and take up collections. And that's always a really great way to get donations. It's always good to have your church supporting you. So coffee, who doesn't love coffee? I mean, that's okay. We'll reach them another way, but also coffee. You can change for change. Use a styrofoam plastic cup. Fill the cup with change. Whoever brings it back first, you can make it into a contest. They get to keep their cup. I mean, it's a styrofoam cup, but hey, sounds like fun to me. The Kairos long distance tea party. Now, I love this one. It's a really great way to reach out to people who are not local to you. And it's also a really great way to reach out to people who are not ready to socialize yet. And you can send them a tea bag. You can create your mailing list, send it out to them, and ask them to pray while they're having a cup of tea. And after their prayer, they can send in a donation based on whatever they deem appropriate after their time with God. And it's a great way to have people feel like they're a part of something, even when they're not ready to get out and socialize yet. So I think this is a very productive way to do fundraising. Garage sales. Yep, we're back to we can't use sales, but we can use garage donations, yard donations, whatever you want to call this event. Let people pick their own price. And when it's a good for a cause, or for a good cause, people will be more than happy to overpay for their products, or sometimes just donate and not even buy anything. but it's a really great way to get your community, your local neighborhood involved. And it gives you the opportunity to talk about Kairos. So you can have your pamphlets available. You can wear your Kairos t-shirts and you can get people invested in Kairos. And you'll find if you do this on a regular basis that people will be looking forward to your next sale. And some people will even be donating stuff for the sale for you to be able to get more people involved. So this is a really great way to attract newcomers as well as doing fundraising. And a really creative way to do a book sale, bring your used book to a team meeting and ask for donations. And the cool thing about this is it can circle through your entire team, and all of you guys have a book that you've all read that you can talk about on a regular basis. So it's a lot of fun. And strawberry shortcake. Who doesn't love strawberry shortcake? You can hold this at your church. You can, if you have business owners that you know of, you can do it through small local businesses. This is a really great way to do. It's a great take on a bake sale, making it a little more exciting than oatmeal raisin cookies. So, but oatmeal raisin cookies bake sales aren't bad either. You can always ask for donations from some of the people in the church to help make the strawberry shortcakes as well. A fall pumpkin patch. Some of the local growers will offer pumpkins to you so that you can either offer them at a discounted rate, more like a choose your own rate, ask for donations for them. Or if your church is willing to help you with that process, that's a really great way to do it too. A free concert is a great idea rather than just specific Kairos people. You have the opportunity to ask musicians of all from all over to be a part of it, and they can participate in a Kairos event without actually going inside. Many people have that fear of going inside. So having a long concert, baked goods, donations, etc., and not everybody has to be a member of Kairos to make that happen. So you can even sneak in some of the songs that we sing when we go inside or have our weekends that are specific to Kairos and let everybody have just a little glimpse of the joy of Kairos. So get me out of prison. You don't always have to use a fishbowl. You can use any bowl you want to, but it's a really great way to bring attention to Kairos. And you can talk to people about signing up for prayers and closings and all kinds of stuff in that event. So it's another one of those all around, all encompassing fundraisers. 3K walks and golf outings are awesome if you have the people involved that can set those up. But there's a lot of online organizations that will set those up for you and help you with that process. So with just a little bit of investigation, you can do a lot of good work with that. Homemade chicken noodles soup in a bag. Some of the ladies that put those up for donations only got some really great responses on that. And the really cool thing is you can do it with cinnamon rolls too. I personally prefer the cinnamon rolls. So Texas, way to go, Texas. You had some great ideas with this one. So the cool thing about line dancing is it's energetic. People are up and moving around. It's not just a bunch of sweets that you're going to eat, but people get up and move around and they have fun and they create a bond, and it gets people excited, gets them exposure, and they have a great time. Also, again, make sure your brochures are available. So the other really great thing about this idea, the really important part of this idea, is the annual line dancing event. So annual events are really great because once you start creating that bond and getting people excited about it, then those people want to spread the word and they come back. They come back every year. They donate more money. They bring friends. It's a really great way to keep people involved in Kairos and keep your teams, your outside teams moving forward towards helping you be successful. I have a series of people who ask me all the time about going into the prison and what they can do to help because they were not made for going into the prison. So they want to help from the outside. And those people specifically will come to me on occasion and say, when are you going back? How can I help? What can I do? What do you need? And you need to be prepared to talk to them about that. Be prepared to hand them a brochure, but also be prepared to tell them, maybe I'm taking this weekend off, but my friends going inside still need donations. And that's okay. You can also do fundraising when you're taking your weekend off. That's another important part of the process, is to remember, just because we're not part of the team going inside doesn't mean our team going inside doesn't need our support. So it's an important part of that process. When we don't ask people to support our ministry, we are denying them their blessings. Many people want to help and don't know how. I've heard, what can I do when I don't want to go inside a prison? Well, this is an excellent opportunity to ask for donations and ask for cookie makers and ask for prayer warriors. Many people don't know that you are doing this ministry. I've talked about this in front of them and they didn't listen. I've worn the Kairos t-shirt and they didn't ask. I remember asking them for donations last year, but people are busy and this isn't their priority. We have to be mindful of that because we made it our priority, and that doesn't make it theirs. So remember, we need to remind people that we're doing this, and sometimes we have to go back and ask again, and it is okay to ask again. Just because we remember doesn't mean they do. Many people don't understand this ministry. I've heard, I thought you already did that once. Why would you want to go back? You really want to go inside? Aren't these people unreachable? Isn't it dangerous to go in there? Why minister to the criminals and not the victims? We have an opportunity to change the hearts of the people outside of this ministry as well as the people inside this ministry. And it is very important that we open our hearts to give them a chance at the blessings. But it's also important that we explain to them that we don't just go in to see inmates. We go in to change lives, to change hearts. We go in to show the officers that we're supporting them. And we go inside the prison so that we change our lives as well. So this isn't a ministry that is just throwing cookies at somebody and walking away. And that's the important part to help get people to understand when they're donating to something like this. Inside the prison is organized in a controlled environment. And situations might happen just like outside the prison, but we're there on faith. And the good Lord is guiding our ministry and we are in safe hands. And it's important that our loved ones understand that as well. Where do you find your blessings? All of this information is available on mykairos.org. There's other information available out there on fundraising for online use. So please, by all means, what you're doing for fundraising, the fundraising opportunities that you've come across, and the other information online that's available for fundraising, by all means, give us some more ideas because we want to be able to make it available to everybody. We want this to be the best ministry it can be, and fundraising is a part of that process. So we want our people to have all of the tools available so that they can do the fundraising that is required for their weekends. We may not have all the answers, but we know where to start looking. So please, by all means, questions and answers.
I'd like to offer one more comment. Is that I said in the early part of mine is that how much work is required to keep the mailing list and the data clean for the letters. So Ollie mentioned several situations where she's sending out, the idea would be to send out emails or send out letters. So in both instances, the energy you put into keeping your mailing list up to date and accurate is it will pay off big time in the future. And I just encourage you to make sure there's somebody there who takes that job very, very seriously.